Hi there, it's Beauty Junkay. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm getting into the upcoming release of the Danessa Myricks Lightwork Volume 3, the Experience palette. If you haven't heard about this, you can check out Trend Mode, a couple posts down. There's pictures of a new release of the Danessa Myricks Lightwork Volume 3 palette in a smaller size and just with the fan favorite shades. So I'll tell you which shades are going to be in this palette coming out. The new palette is $85 for 8 shades. It's a pricey palette. We can talk about that. There's a highlighter shade in there, but of course you can use it on your eyes. And the rest of them are very beautiful, multi-dimensional, duochrome types of shades. I have to say I really love this palette, and I wasn't able to really use a lot of these colors in many of my looks because it sold out so quickly. So I'm excited to be able to do another video on this and show you guys what these can do. I know a lot of you will not be interested in picking up the new palette because of the price, and I totally agree with you there. But I will say this was like $125, and I do not plan to use these big highlighter shades because these are very chunky, glittery, and that is not my style. But they are beautiful kind of highlightery shades in different colors. So this one's kind of a green, you got blue, you got purple and pink. I think they're pretty, but not really my style for a highlight on the cheek. So I could have done without these, honestly. So I think the 8-pan palette makes sense. The colors that they're not including, because you can see there are 10 up in here, they're not including some of the smaller pans. So this glittery blue one they're not including. I don't think a lot of people like this. The black they're not including. I actually like the texture of this black shade, but most of us have a black eyeshadow. Not including that. They're also not including this coppery duochrome gel shade, the Sea Biscuit. They're not including that. So they're including the rest of the eyeshadow shades. So they're including these guys and these plus Strawberry Moon. They are including one highlight, which I think makes sense. This is the Pinky Shift one, and I'll do swatches of all of these and we'll do an eye look. All right, so let's start with swatches. I think Polaris, even though it does not look that exciting, is one of my favorites. It's one of those beautiful inner corner special kinds of shades. Look at that. Oh, I love this shade. Polaris is so pretty. Galaxy coming up next here is one of those typical blue to green to purple multi-chrome shades. Every company that does a multi-chrome does a shade like this. This one's pretty. I don't think it's the best out there, but it's definitely a standard shade in the multi-chrome world, so I'm not too surprised that that one is in this palette. Martian, this was another unique, maybe a little lighter, pastel-y, more wearable shade. Martian, I love this one too. These two are probably some of my favorites from this palette because although they may not be super like multi-chromey, they're more duochromey. I just love these colors. I haven't seen a lot of palettes with colors like this, so very pretty there. The next one we have up here is Soul, which is not super unique gold shade to me. I could have skipped this one in the palette just because it's kind of an antique burnt gold. I don't know, not super special to me, but I think it's pretty, you know, for the summertime to have a color like that in a palette. It's a pretty common color people like. Next, I'm gonna swatch Strawberry Moon, which is the very glittery highlighty shade. Look at that. I mean, it does look very impressive. I mean, for this kind of a product, it is stunning, and people love to put this on top of the black shade in the palette. No black shade, but I'm sure you could put this on top of any black and it would look stunning. And it's just kind of a unique shade. You don't have to put it on as a highlighter. You can use it on the eyes. Next we have Aurora, which I think is also a common shade in the multi-chrome world to come out with. These are pretty smooth. I think what I like about this multi-chrome shade, it's not the most bright or shiny or stand out, but they go on really smooth with a finger. Not a lot of flakiness or thick feeling. It's very much feels like a regular eyeshadow. Next we have Gaia. I think this is a really, really pretty one. I love the name too, Gaia. This one's a little bit, to me, more of a unique kind of coppery, but not pewter. I don't know. A rusty metallic. I like this one. A little bit out there. Not a typical shade you see in every multi-chrome palette. Now this is more of a duochrome. It is really pretty though. And next we have the last one in this palette coming out here is Solar Rain. This is a stunning lighter one. A lot of multi-chromes are really vibrant and bold, and what I like about this is it's on the softer side, but still really fun, really reflective. So those are the swatches from this Lightwork Volume 3 Experience palette. There you go. All right, so I'm gonna do a look with probably some pretty safe shades from the palette, but I would think also the most wearable, just because I have a very bronzed look on today on the complexion. I'm gonna stay within that same family and probably use these 4 shades right here. I'm gonna stay away from the greens and the purples a little bit, and yeah, just kind of stick to the duochrome, multi-chrome, bronze gold vibe. But let's talk about this price while I apply. So 85 shades, or sorry, 8 shades for $85, and they're not all multi-chrome. You get 5 multi-chromes, 1 duochrome, 1 powder cream, and 1 holographic powder. 85 seems like a lot for 5 shades, but let's see. 5 times 20, so the price of multi-chromes vary, maybe from like $15 a piece to $20, maybe a little bit less, a little bit more. So 5 times 20 is 100. So if you think of it that way, you're getting 5 multi-chromes for less than 100. It's not too bad, but if we do 5 times 15, that is $75. Okay, and then you get 3 extra for $10 extra. So when you think about a normal price of a multi-chrome, this palette is not far off, but you know, it is going to discourage a lot of people because of that price point. I think a multi-chrome palette is genius, but they're always higher than other palettes, and most people don't understand why. The formulations of multi-chromes are pricey, they're different, they're special. Now, I don't know if these are the same size as the ones in here, which I do not have the ounces per pan on the back of this palette, unfortunately, but they look pretty normal size to me. Maybe a little bit smaller because it is a palette, but I doubt you're gonna hit panning anytime soon on this new one. It looks fun. It looks really, really fun. Swatches, the looks you can get out of that, I mean, there's a lot of creativity, I think, if you pick that one up. So if this appeals to you and you got the money for it, I would not hesitate picking this guy up. But now let's just get into some looks. Let the palette speak for itself. I'm gonna start with Soul, which is our kind of burnt gold shade, as our base, and then I'll probably use Gaia as like a darker, smokier crease. And I'm not using any eyeshadow primer. Oh, this gold is really pretty. It's not often that I just use a straight up gold on my eyes. I think I used to use a lot of gold back in the day in high school, because I was a cheerleader and my team colors had gold in it. So there's a lot of gold on the eye. Oh, that's just so pretty. But it is a little bit smoky over gold, a deeper gold, so it is going to kind of read a little dark on my eyes. So I'm gonna have to make sure I find ways to lighten up the rest of the eye look. So I'm noticing, you know, I'm patting on the shadow that I am getting fallout on my face. Isn't that pretty? So I'm gonna dust that off, that fallout. The thing about gold fallout is it goes pretty well with the rest of the makeup, so it's not really brushing off too easy. That's okay, I have some fallout. Okay. So Gaia is even deeper. It was like that pewtery brown shade that I'm gonna use up on the edge here. Now, when we get into like crease shades and having a multi-chrome crease shade, it seems a little bit odd and strange to use a color like this or a formula like this to define the eye and create dimension. There's a lot of black behind this shade, I can tell. Some people may not like that because it creates some shadow, but I think that's actually really pretty. Gaia and Soul is a pretty combination. Overlaying over Soul, but creating a shape on the edge here. When you look at different angles, things look very different. So looking straight on into the camera, this looks really dark over here. But when I'm off to the side over here, looking this way, it doesn't look that bad. But I can see, because there's so much black behind Gaia, it really smokes out the look and just makes it a lot more nighttime. Now remember, this is a colorful, fun palette. You can do lots of fun, interesting things. It may not be for every day. If you've never used these kinds of shades, you might want to practice a little bit before, you know, you go out into the public, just to make sure you're fully comfortable. But there is kind of that black shadow that's behind Gaia that creates a little bit of drama. Okay, so I'm gonna move on to some lighter things here. And I'm probably gonna use my finger. So we have Solar Rain, I think will be really pretty with the rest of the tones in here. Polaris is very frosty white, but it shifts really green. So I'm gonna stick with Polaris and see what happens here. Actually, because it's a powder, I'm gonna use a little brush here. Gradient is phenomenal. I could use this shade in so many looks. It's so pretty. I could use this all over the lid and be good. So you guys will notice there's no mattes in this palette coming out. So if you want a matte, this is not the palette. You'll have to reach for other palettes in your collection, which I'm okay doing. Some people are not. If you have no eyeshadow and this is your very first palette, I would say I would buy other palettes first to build your collection before buying a wild palette like this that you may not know what to do with. Ooh, that is so pretty. Solar Rain, prettiest color. Maybe in this whole entire palette. Look at that. It makes me like want to drool. I don't know why. It's like a mouth-watering shade. I just want to keep going with it, but I'm gonna stop here. All right, so I think that is it for me using the palette. I'm gonna have to finish out this look, I'm gonna use probably a matte shade under here and do a little bit more blending, put on some eyeliner and mascara. I'll go ahead and do all of that off camera and show you the final look. here we are. This is the final look. I honestly love the final result. I love this palette. So what I ended up using a bronzer contour duo underneath the eye, so it's not very noticeable that I have some color on there, just a little bit. I didn't want to make it too smoky and too dark. And then I just used the Victoria Beckham Bronze Satin Congeal eyeliner on the top and on the waterline. And I use some mascara from Chanel, this little sample of Le Volume de Chanel. That's the mascara I used. For lips, I used the Patrick Ta Precision Lip Crayon in She's Proud all around the lips, and the Lisa Eldridge Velvet Petal. This is her matte formula, and it's a little pinker, so you guys can see the contrast between the liner and the lipstick a little bit. I just wanted to do something pretty neutral with this very gorgeous eye look. I love the way this eye look looks. It's not super typical for me to have such a smoky shade on the outside with the gold. I probably would have normally used like a matte brown or just a regular creasy transition shade, but I kind of like that it's different. So when you shift around, that shadow does kind of go away, but in certain lights you guys can see some of that black grayish. I would say, to me, I don't love that about multi-chromes, but a lot of those shades do have that black smoky color beneath the shiny shade. It's just how multi-chromes work. So Gaia is what we're talking about here. It has a lot of black behind it. I'm pretty sure Aurora and Galaxy would as well. So when you kind of blend it out, it gives you that real smoky effect. So just keeping that in mind when using some of these shades. But overall, Solar Rain, it's probably my top two, maybe behind Polaris and Martian. These are just so pretty. If you're into this kind of stuff, you can create looks like this with the new Lightwork 3 Experience palette. I think it's totally worth it if you like this kind of stuff, and if you're a fan of Danessa Myricks, I think it's a no-brainer to pick it up, especially if you didn't get a chance to pick up this one. I know it sold out pretty quickly. If you guys have any questions about this palette, please let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, click the thumbs up, subscribe, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye, guys.